From the Mecca of Mormonism, Salt Lake City, Utah, this is Heart of the Matter, the short show. Most of us are aware that in ancient Greece, an oath was created called the Hippocratic Oath for new doctors and how they would go about their practice. I'm not going to read you the ancient version where the new physicians swore allegiance to various gods as a promise to do well in their chosen vocation. But I want to talk about the modern one. It was created in 1964 when one Louis Lasagna, that's right, academic dean of the School of Medicine at Tufts University, rewrote the oath, and it's the one that has been used from most medical schools ever since. I want to use the modern Hippocratic Oath as something I think pastors ought to begin to recite in this world, all over the world, before they are ever allowed to govern a society of believers or pastor a church. So let's give it a go. The new doctors say, I swear to fulfill to the best of my ability and judgment this covenant. And this is the first thing they swear to. I will respect the hard-won scientific gains of those physicians in whose steps I walk and gladly share such knowledge as is mine with those who are to follow. Now, many of us know that the idea is to first do no harm. And that's talked about a lot, but I don't find that as apparent here, but that's obvious. First, do no harm. That should be the first one. Relative to what they say in the Hippocratic Oath, I think pastors should say something like, I will respect the biblically supported views of Scripture and present them as possibilities to my congregation instead of limiting the information I give them to what I personally believe is absolute. So that's the transition. I think doctors say one thing, I think pastors should say another. The second thing the doctors say is, I will apply for the benefit of the sick all measures that are required, avoiding those twin traps of overtreatment and therapeutic nihilism. Before I give you what the pastors would say, therapeutic nihilism is the belief that leave the body alone and it will take care of itself. That's what therapeutic nihilism is. So in the doctor's Hippocratic Oath, they're saying you avoid the twin traps of overtreatment or just saying, oh, your body will heal itself, okay? For a pastor, I think they should say, all say, I will apply for the benefit of all struggling souls, all measures of compassion and mercy necessary, avoiding the twin traps of condemnation and or indifference to their plight. Right? You can come down heavy on them, over-treat them, or you can just remain indifferent to their plight, and I think we could do that. The third thing doctors say is, I will remember that there is art to medicine as well as science, and that warmth, sympathy, and understanding may outweigh the surgeon's knife or the chemist's drug. Wouldn't it be great if all pastors says, I will remember that there is leeway in doctrine and practice, and that warm liberty and understanding of different views should outweigh the traditions of man and the dogmas of denominationalism. I think that should be part of the Christian Hippocratic Oath. And the fourth thing new doctors recite is, I will not be ashamed to say, I know not. And nor will I fail to call in my colleagues when the skills of another are needed for a patient's recovery. So they're saying, let's have some unity here. Let's call other people in when someone's having difficulty. How about new pastors say, I will not be ashamed to say I don't know. Nor will I fail to admit that lay person's views on things may be as viable as mine on a given matter. The new doctors also say, I will respect the privacy of my patients and their problems, for their problems are not disclosed to me that the world may know. Most especially must I tread with care in matters of life and death. If it is given me to save a life, all thanks. But it may also be within my power to take a life. This awesome responsibility must be faced with great humbleness and awareness of my own frailty. Above all, I must not play God. I think every new pastor ought to repeat something like that, almost exactly even. Perhaps I will respect the privacy of my congregants, for their problems and issues are not disclosed to me that the world may know. Most especially must I tread with care in matters of spiritual life and spiritual death. If it is given me to save a life spiritually, all thanks, but it may also be within my power to warn of spiritual death. This awesome responsibility must be faced with great humbleness and awareness of my own frailty. Above all, I must not play God. New doctors also say, I will remember that I do not treat a fever chart, a cancer growth, but a sick human being whose illnesses may affect a person's family and economic stability. My responsibility includes these related problems if I am to care adequately for the sick. Pastors would do well to say, I will remember that I am not relating to a homosexual, an adulterer, or a pedophile, but a sick human being whose illness may affect the person's family and economic stability. My responsibility includes these related problems if I am to care adequately as sheep seeking the shepherd. If I'm to care adequately for them as sheep seeking the shepherd. Doctors recite 4 more parts to the oath, including, I will prevent disease whenever I can, for prevention is preferable to cure. And I would say that by sound teaching, pastors should say, I will prevent faithlessness and non-love whenever I can, for prevention is preferable to cure. Doctors also say, I will remember that I remain a member of society with special obligations to all my fellow beings, those of sound body as well as the infirm. And I think a pastor should also say, I will too remember that I remain a member of society with special obligations to all my fellow beings, those of sound mind and body as well as the infirm, those who believe and those who do not. And finally, new doctors say, if I don't violate this oath, may I enjoy life and art, respected while I live and remembered with affection thereafter. May I always act as to preserve the finest traditions of my calling, and may I long to experience the joy of healing those who seek my help. Also, pastors may conclude with, if I do not violate this oath, may I enjoy life in the hereafter, respected by the King for having represented him and his kingdom well. May I also act so as to preserve the finest traditions of a follower of Christ, who are known by their love, and may I long experience the joy of helping to heal and guide those who seek my help. If medical doctors who heal the body, which is here and gone, take a Hippocratic Oath, I don't know why pastors who claim to heal the soul don't do the same. Perhaps that will help in the revolution, that people of faith will start to say, Pastor, have you taken the Hippocratic Oath? Out